MCAT office hours. It is August 28th, 2025. Petros, you know what that means?
It's almost September.
It's almost September. That's what it means. It's almost September 20 or August 29th. It means it's Thursday and office hours day. Hello everyone and welcome. As we get started here, Petros, I want to talk about MCAT registration and some changes potentially, I think, that are coming. They seem to be announced. There's maybe some confusing language out there, but September historically in the MCAT space, the AAMC space, is schedule release month, and then October is registration month.
Mm-hmm.
We got the schedule already.
Yay!
We know the dates in 2026. If you go to medicalschoolhq.net/MCAT dates, I think MCAT dates is hyphenated. All the dates are on there. You can see what's going on. We have a February date. And you were right. It is that one date on February 13th.
One date. It's a Friday, the 13th.
It's a Friday. They were protecting Valentine's Day.
That's right. That's right. That's what they were doing.
They didn't want to ruin Hallmark's profits.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah. So there's a February date, which is, so now technically there are test dates from January through September, which is different, right? Because February was kind of this outlier that there was no test date. There was a January test and there were March test dates. So that opens up some opportunities. And it's right, smack dab in the middle of the month. So that's good too in terms of options for when to test. But yeah, that's the big change, I think, for 2015. In addition to what
2015.
I mean, 2025. Gosh, I'm 10 years since 2015 is what I meant to say. I'm 10 years behind. Maybe I did a little time travel just then.
Yeah.
But the other big change is, according to the webinar that they hosted, according to everything that's on the web, registration for the MCAT 2026 test dates opens in October for every test date, which up until now, it's always been in October. They would open the registration for the January through June exams, and then sometime in February, they'd open the July through September exams. So, that can mean a lot of things. It doesn't really change when a student should test. So I don't want anybody who's watching, who's here, who sees this later, to think, oh, that means I have to now test early. Like that, it doesn't change anything. I mean, you should still test when you're going to be ready, make sure that it's going to work as far as the application timeline. You're going to have enough time to prepare. We'll talk about all those things at some point, either here or, between now and October 21st. But it definitely does change the kind of logistics of things, because now you could grab a September test date in October. In October 2025, you could be grabbing a September test date in 2026. 11 months away, and that's going to change some of the dynamics in terms of availability, potentially, people holding on to seats. You can still only hold one test date at any given time. So, that's going to be interesting to see what happens on the 21st and the 22nd. And just for clarity for everybody, registration opens on the 21st for testing locations on one half of the country, and then on the 22nd for the other half, and then on the 23rd for everywhere else, right? So Canada, international locations, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, registration opens on the 21st, but if you're testing in California, it opens on the 22nd. So there's a map on the AMC website that kind of shows the states and the dates.
And the only rationale for that is it just reduces the burden on the AAMC's registration system, because they don't seem to update it ever. No. So registration opening October for all 2026 test dates. Unfortunately, I have a feeling during this transition year, we're going to see a lot of students who just have it in their mind that February is the date that I register for my July to September dates. They're going to show up in February and go try to register, and they're not going to find any spots. They're like, what happened here?
That's the reality.
Yeah.
So everybody
Spread the news, everyone. Help everyone.
Yeah.
Why do you think, let's just try to get in the heads of the AAMC for a second. Why do you think this change was made? You froze. The AAMC has hacked our system. They don't want that message told. For those of you watching as Petros unfreezes here in a minute, there he is as he unfreezes. What MCAT questions do you have? Questions about registration, when you should take the MCAT, how long you should study, all that good stuff. Petros, I didn't do any introductions. You have 26 years of experience, 26 plus years of experience in the MCAT and test prep world, formerly at Kaplan, now here. So you know a thing or two. So happy to have you here and share your knowledge with everyone. So come ask your questions, friends. The question I left you with is trying to get in the heads of the AAMC, why they made this change. Yeah. My guess is that with the new February date, they're like, well, if we have the February date and we're doing registration again, that's just a lot of stuff happening at the AAMC. And they're like, let's just do registration at one time. And then in the future, if we have multiple February dates, that just reduces the burden on the team.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I don't know if I'm frozen at this point, but that is, that's where my head went to.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn off my camera just to see if that helps. Yeah.
Yeah, you're back now. You're good. And Petros is gone. Turning off your camera, you're not allowed to come in here anymore. So yeah, come ask your questions as we're dealing with this tech conundrum that we have right now. The MCAT. I was talking to a physician yesterday. I went and had a doctor's appointment yesterday, and we were talking, and she asked what I do. So I told her. She's like, "Oh, I could have used someone like you back when I was applying to medical school." And she's like, "Yeah, I struggled with the MCAT." And she's like, "That verbal section." And I'm like, "Yep, me too, lady, me too." But she's out practicing, doing her thing. Petros, we got you.
I hope you do.
Yeah, you're here. So,
I'm here. Good. All right.
You're good. Yeah.
Yeah. My answer to your previous question in terms of why one registration date is the less thing that people have to worry about in terms of not as far as students, as far as the people have to turn on registration in February. So it's just open everything up. Everything's for sale as far as the test date is concerned, and take it from there. So maybe also the reason why they released the test dates so early this year, because it is relatively early compared to historically, kind of the historic trends. So there might, I mean, they've given you basically 2 months notice as far as when registration is opening and when the test dates are. So that could also be aligned with that. Because historically, I mean, I'd have to go back through the records, but historically they would release the test dates after the final administration of the current testing year. So it, to get it out this early means, okay, like we're getting the information out as it were. So.
Yep. Question here: what test date is hardest to enroll for? Do you know, like, what's the most in demand kind of test time?
Generally, it's the March-April dates tend to be the ones that are really popular because they're before applications open, but also before finals. So that tends to be one that, or the ones that can be a little harder to secure. January test dates are pretty popular because you can test before you go back to school. So if you prep over the fall, you can test before you go back to school. Those obviously become a little bit more in demand as a result of that. But pretty much across the board, I mean, it's pretty even. And then over the summer, the August and September test dates come into higher demand for people who are retesting or postponed and decided not to test, right? So if we originally maybe were planning on testing in May, but then you realize, okay, I'm going to need more time, then August and September become popular from that regards. So
yeah. Okay. Awesome. I know we have some slides to look at and break down some stuff. You want to go ahead and jump into that?
We can attempt to. So yes, we can.
Let's go ahead and do that. Let's see.
So today, I mean, we really haven't looked at behavioral sciences in office hours here, so I thought it'd be fun to just take a quick sneak peek into some good old Maslow. This is all it's relevant because it's on the MCAT, but it's also something that I think can be relevant in terms of kind of everybody making sure that their own hierarchy of needs is being met as you're going through this process of preparing for this exam, for the application process, for all the things that you have going on. I think what's important, and I always start with the slide, is for us to remind ourselves as far as what's really being assessed on the MCAT. And that, of course, is this notion of your prior knowledge, the information that's being given to you from the exam, and then, of course, putting those two together to reason out a diagnosis, right? To reason out kind of where you're ending up with all this information and all the things very much in parallel with what physicians are doing on a daily basis, right? So this is really kind of the key in remembering how this is structured and how this works comes into play accordingly. So I label this as order matters, namely because order does very much matter when you're looking at certain types of questions. In the sciences and the hard sciences, something like oxidative phosphorylation, there's a very, very specific order of events that has to happen. In the psychology section, the behavioral sciences section, also true, right? When you're looking at something that is a very kind of layered approach and layered kind of order as far as how things come into play. So here's what I think would be good to do. I want to give everybody an opportunity to really kind of look at this question, but don't look at the answer choices. So just look at the question, read through it, and identify what it is that is actually being asked. I'll kind of walk you through this so that you see the process and kind of how you should be thinking about this. One thing that becomes, and this is true for the MCAT, that becomes kind of obviously apparent is it's a long question, right? This is almost a mini passage in a way. That's not unusual, right? So questions on the MCAT are not designed to be easy. They are designed to be challenging. And anytime you see a question that's long, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's hard. It just means that the true kind of question behind the question is, buried. It's hidden somewhere in there. So you have to be thinking, okay, how can I get down to the core question that's actually being asked? So they give us this background. They say an industrial organizational psychologist is hired to reduce voluntary turnover at a manufacturing plant. First things first, it doesn't matter that it is an industrial organizational psychologist per se, right? I mean, that's kind of a nice thing that it's a psychologist. And it doesn't matter that it's at a manufacturing plant, right? This could have said an industrial organizational psychologist is hired to reduce volunteer turnover at a, cereal plant, right? At a office, at a television company, right? It doesn't matter where the place is. What matters is they've hired someone to reduce voluntary turnover. So that's the first thing. Then they give us some evidence, right? They say that exit interviews show that most workers are satisfied with wages and consider the workplace physically safe. Those are key words, right? They're happy with how much they're being paid. They're happy with how safe they are in the environment. And then you got this word but, which is a transition word, right? So anytime you see the word but, You know something different is about to come. So since we've been given the things that they're happy with, when you see the word but, you know that you're going to be given the things that they're not happy with, right? So this is that transition, that opposite that comes into play. Many report feeling that management, quote, doesn't notice good work, and quote, no one cares about our ideas. So they've given evidence of what people have actually said in the exit interviews of why they might be wanting to leave.
Yep.
And then they ask you point blank, according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which type of intervention should the psychologist recommend tackling first to improve retention? So this is where you need to be able to recall what Maslow's hierarchy of needs are, right? This is, I mean, plain and simple as far as the content knowledge is required. You need to know what the order Maslow's hierarchy of needs order is. But more importantly, you need to go and say, okay, they've already identified the things that these people are happy with. Where is it that those areas that they are satisfied with fall in Maslow's hierarchy of needs? And what is it that we're going to need to do next, which is the next higher order of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is why I said earlier that order matters, right? You have to figure out kind of what things matter. The answer choices that are presented to you are also relatively long. But this is where we remind ourselves of what Maslow's hierarchy of needs are. The base needs, according to Maslow, is physiological needs, right? We need to be able to eat. We need to be able to basically survive, right? We need to be in a comfortable enough environment where we're able to survive. And that starts to bleed into safety needs, right? We need to feel safe and secure, right? So the first thing you're going to do, generally speaking, if you go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is you're going to be able to try to find food, right? Try to find water so that you physiologically can continue to survive. And then you're going to build some type of shelter, right, to protect yourself from whether it's the elements or, you know, if we were, you know, thousands and thousands of years ago, from wildlife, right, that might be trying to harm our safety. Then we go up to love and belonging, right? So we then say, okay, I feel physiologically secure. I can feed myself. I can drink the water. I feel safe. Now I want to be with other people, right? I want to be part of a group. I want to feel love. I want to, you know, give love. But then it comes after that, and then I want to feel, you know, good about myself as far as esteem. And then there's self-actualization, right? So now how can I improve myself, right? What can I do next to kind of take myself to the next level? The first thing with a question like this is they've told us the things that these workers are happy about, right? They're happy about their wages. They're happy about their safety. Wages is a weird one because wages, as far as Maslow's hierarchy of needs, one can think, oh, that, you know, maybe feeds into esteem. But quite frankly, and this is not me trying to be critical of money, are merely a means for us to provide our physiological needs and our safety needs, right? I earn an income, and so therefore I can buy food, right? Instead of the hunters and gatherers would have gone out and found food or, you know, built their own house. Now I can buy my food. I can buy my water, right? Whether it's paying for the water company to deliver it to my door, or, you know, I mean, or going to the grocery store and buying fancy bottled water. That's a physiological need. I can buy my safety in terms of a home, whether it's actually buying a home or renting an apartment or renting a house, right? But I'm able to transfer that money over. So the wages are covering kind of those earlier needs that are there. So the question then becomes, according to the passage and according to these answer choices, what do the answer choices actually, you know, show us? And so if we go through these, it says implement an employee recognition program that publicly acknowledges exemplary performance, right? So this is the equivalent of me going and saying, okay, I'm creating something where I'm going to say, okay, these are my 5 employees of the month, right? I recently went to one of the big box warehouse stores, and they've got a big wall that says these are the employees of the month, right? So that is employee recognition program. There's a public acknowledgement. I know that if I see these employees, they're going to be the ones that, you know, they've earned their plaque on the wall. But at the end of the day, that's not physiological. That's not safety. That's falling into the esteem category, right? By publicly acknowledging their work, we have fulfilled Maslow's hierarchy of needs in terms of esteem. But if we're not paying them well, they're probably not going to stay, right? Like this is all, it's all connected as far as this order is concerned. Provide free on-site healthy meals during all work shifts. That would fall into, if we look at, you know, we think about the pyramid, that's food, right? That's physiological needs. According to the question, they've already, you know, taken care of making people happy as far as the physiological needs because they're satisfied with their wages, right? Mm-hmm. So that's not going to be the next thing that they need to be doing. They need to be going up the ladder and not jumping too far ahead is what it comes down to. So esteem so far is the winner because it's higher than physiological, and safety, which we already see in the question, has been fulfilled as far as this is concerned. The third answer choice, install additional safety guards on machinery and expand accident prevention training. That's safety. And the employers are telling us, the ones that are leaving, because those are the ones that we want to do something to keep them here. They've already told us that, hey, I feel safe here. So it's not that a company shouldn't do that, right? Maybe putting more safety guards on machinery is not going to be a bad thing, but that's not going to keep more people there. It's not like they're going to say, hey, we're safe and now we're safer. And these people are going to say, these employees that are leaving are going to say, okay, now I'll stay. No, they're leaving for some other reason. And then the fourth one, offer optional creative workshops that allow employees to design new product prototypes. That falls into self-actualization, right? The idea of now being able to develop and grow as an individual further. So the only two answer choices that could work because of the order of Maslow would be answer choice A with esteem and answer choice D with self-actualization. Physiological and safety needs have already been met, but the question isn't asking us what should they do. It's asking us what should they tackle. It's asking us very specifically, what should they tackle first to improve retention? If they jumped the gun and went to the top of the pyramid and offered these opportunities for employees to design new product prototypes, they would have skipped a step. And by skipping the step, they shouldn't expect to see any more employees want to stick around because they haven't done the next thing, which is building the esteem. So the only one that's going to work is going to be answer choice A, because if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the answer choices that were provided to you, the esteem comes into play there. The love and belonging is in between, right? Love and belonging tends to actually historically that was kind of with the esteem, and it's been separated out over time in terms of a category. So, you know, and there wasn't an option here as far as love and belonging. And quite frankly, workplaces probably aren't going to be like promoting love and belonging, you know, in the workplace itself, because there are lawsuits that might happen as a result of that.
Usually it's the opposite.
It's usually the opposite, right? It's like, here are our policies.
Fraternization.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where you end up with this one. That's where you end up with is answer choice A, which fulfills, right, this employee retention program. So the fun thing about this is, and I showed you what was happening. It didn't explicitly kind of explain it. We changed the answer choices into one word, right? As opposed to these long sentences, we're like, boom, that's esteem. This is physiological. This is safety. This is self-actualization. And you think about them like that, then you go back to the Maslow pyramid that you know, and it's quite apparent that it has to be answer choice A.
My guess is that many students quickly trying to read this prompt or this question will go, oh, this is a Maslow question. Mm-hmm. I know the hierarchy. I know that the bottom is physiological. Oh, food. Yep. That's the answer. Mm-hmm. Because that's the bottom. That's what I'm getting at. Yep. Without understanding, wait a minute, they told me what was already being fulfilled here, and I'm looking for the thing that isn't.
Yep. That's the MCAT.
That's the MCAT.
That's how they try to get you, right, is by tapping into your prior knowledge, but almost making your prior knowledge work against you if you didn't pay close enough attention to the question that was actually being asked. So
yeah.
But I want to tie this in, Ryan, if you don't mind, for like just a second, tie this into like actual MCAT studying.
Yeah.
So this goes back to, I mean, just, or not even MCAT studying, like this whole application process, right? The whole journey. Like, take care of yourself, right? Take care of your own physiological needs, right? I mean, get the sleep that you need to be getting, get the, keep yourself fulfilled as far as nutrition is concerned, and exercise and your own well-being, because that is the base, right? That is the base, and kind of everything else above on the pyramid will start to not execute as well if you're sacrificing those things. I mean, I hear this a lot from students. They're like, "Oh, I'm just not going to sleep for the or I'll sleep for only 4 hours a night, the week or two before the MCAT." It's like, no, don't do that to yourself, right? That's not a recipe for success. Is what it comes down to. Make sure you see your friends. Make sure you, even publicly recognize yourself every now and then. Say, look, I've done 50 problems today. Like, put your picture on the wall and call yourself the MCAT student of the day. So, right, I mean, right, if you need that kind of that.
I love it. Maybe we should work that into our course. Some sort of
MCAT student of the day. Yeah.
Love it. Okay. Yeah, take care of yourself. I talked to a student yesterday, 2 days ago, who was like, "Yeah, this past year was hard. I pulled 7 all-nighters." I'm like, "No, like, don't pull all-nighters. They don't help." Yeah.
All-nighters do not equate to success, generally speaking, right? Like, that's it's not great. Not great at all.
Oh man, I'm gonna put in the comments here if you are looking for some MCAT tutoring. We have a course coming up as well. Stay tuned for that. I'll put a link to, and the QR code is there as well, to schedule a consult with Petros and learn more. So go check that out. What other questions do you guys have about the MCATs or this crazy process? What do you got? And Petros is hiding because his internet's a little laggy today. So
I'm afraid to turn it on. So I'm just gonna, I'm a very gray icon is what it is. So
there you go. I wish I could put just put a static avatar, something silly there. The MCAT car guy.
Oh, the MCAT, I got it on my desktop here. If you want.
I know, but we can't throw it in there.
Yeah, I know. So I do like the MCAT car, or the car, the cat wearing an M hat in a car. So
that's all. All right. Well, if nobody has any questions, then I guess we could go. We're potentially looking at moving these to Tuesdays to try to get some more people here. Thursdays just seem to be more of a dead time of the week. So that's the plan. But I will give you a final countdown here. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. If not, we will escape. Go back to work at creating some amazing MCAT stuff for you all. All right, friends. Petros, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.